If you've been following Formula One this season, you'll know that one man has gotten a lot of attention, and that is championship contender Charles Leclerc. During his time in the sport, the Monegasque has made quite an impression. From being the most sought-after rookie talent to a family tragedy, here's our list of the top things you might not know about Ferrari's latest superstar, Charles Leclerc. Number 10. Sheer dominance in Formula 2. The golden boy of the first generation of F2 drivers, Charles Leclerc exploded onto the scene in the championship's inaugural season in 2017, proving, if proof was even needed, that the championship was the real deal. After graduating from GP3, Leclerc accomplished the remarkable feat of winning the championship on the first try, establishing himself as a future star. The world of junior formula sat up and took notice when he took pole in his first F2 race for Ferrari-linked Prima Racing in Bahrain. He went on to have an absolutely dominant season, with 7 victories and 7 poles, finishing 72 points ahead of the highly rated and experienced Artem Markelov. Born in the Mediterranean paradise of Monaco and raised in one of the world's most illustrious motor racing locations, he seemed destined for F1. Still, few could have predicted the impact he would have at the pinnacle of motorsport. Number 9. First time driving a Formula One car. Leclerc first got the taste of an F1 car in his first practice session of the 2016 British Grand Prix. As a member of the Ferrari Drive Academy, he was naturally going to test with a Ferrari-affiliated team. In his case, it was the young Haas team. Günther Steiner, Haas team principal, stated at the time, "Charles Leclerc is highly regarded by Ferrari, and his record speaks for itself. We're happy to provide this opportunity and help develop the next generation of Formula One drivers." In 2016, it was speculated that if Leclerc won the GP3 championship, he would follow in the footsteps of Valtteri Bottas and Daniil Kvyat, who graduated directly to Formula One from GP3. Unfortunately, the Haas team principal debunked the myth and announced that the young Monegasque would instead make the step up to Formula 2. For the 2017 season, Leclerc participated in the mid-season Hungaroring test, now driving the Ferrari SF70H. He topped the standings after completing 98 laps on the first day, further cementing his future at the pinnacle of motorsport. Number 8. He has an impressive supercar collection. Charles Leclerc is a car enthusiast, kind of obvious given his chosen career, and with an estimated net worth of around $125 million, the Monegasque is also not short on cash. Combine that with the fact that he is from Monaco, a place known for being a haven for the rich and famous, and you have a recipe for an impressive car collection. He currently owns several of the world's most desirable vehicles, including a Ferrari GTC4, a Ferrari F8, a McLaren GT, a Jaguar XF, a Land Rover Discovery, and a Rolls-Royce Wraith. The crown jewel of his collection, however, is the Bugatti Chiron. This $3 million beast is Bugatti's fastest, most powerful, and exclusive production super sports car. The big, low Bugatti uses a quad-turbo W12 engine to reach 60 miles per hour in 2.5 seconds and a top speed of 261 miles per hour. For perspective, that is roughly 30 miles per hour faster than the top speed ever achieved by an F1 car. Number 7. Charles Leclerc is a Twitch streamer. With the rise of Formula One simulations in gaming, many of the sport's young drivers have turned to streaming platforms like Twitch to showcase their abilities, provide off-track entertainment, and connect with their younger fans. Charles Leclerc has followed in the footsteps of younger drivers such as Lando Norris, and while his YouTube channel is inactive, his Twitch channel, Charles Leclerc, has over 760,000 followers. It's not all fun and games though, as Charles Leclerc is just as competitive in the virtual space as he is on the racetrack, having won the Formula One official virtual Grand Prix series against fellow drivers Lando Norris, George Russell, and Alex Albon. Charles Leclerc has stated that he believes Twitch was an important platform for entertainment during the coronavirus pandemic and for staying mentally and emotionally sharp during the off-season. Furthermore, Charles Leclerc claims that the Twitch channel allows him and other racers to be themselves and show a side of themselves to their fans that's more akin to their actual personalities than what is seen during race weekends and press conferences. I really enjoyed it, and I think it's the closest for people that follow me that you get of the real me. At the F1 track, obviously it's different. There's pressure and things like this, so to be yourself is a bit different. Number 6. Family tragedy. Charles Leclerc was in the middle of his Formula 2 season in 2017, a member of the Ferrari Driver Academy, and widely expected to make the step up to Formula One the following year. He was aware that his father, Hervé, was nearing the end of his life after a long illness at the age of 54. Charles informed Hervé that he had secured a Formula One seat for 2018. He hadn't though. It was a bit earlier than I had really signed, but in the end, I didn't lie because I am here and now in Ferrari, which feels incredible. He says his father's ambition for his son was to be in F1 and to be a world champion. I haven't done that yet, but I will work to realize his dream. And it might not be that far away. Leclerc began 2022 with a bang, winning the season-opening Bahrain Grand Prix, signaling Ferrari's return to its former glory. Despite a couple of setbacks, the Monegasque remains firmly in championship contention after 6 races, implying that he now has a real chance of fulfilling his father's dream. Even back in 2018, everyone recognized the youngster's talent. After all, Ferrari signing a driver so early in his career is unusual. It remains to be seen how Leclerc handles the increased pressure this season, but he appears to have the mental fortitude and resilience to do so thus far. Even before his Formula One career began, there were indications that this was a man who was more than capable of ignoring outside distractions that might interfere with his professional performance. Leclerc had to compete in Formula 2 in Baku 3 days after his father died in the summer of 2017. Despite his personal torment, he won the first race by more than a half-second margin. That meant starting 8th in the second race, which he also won, despite being demoted to second by a 10-second penalty. It was very hard to take because I lost him on the Wednesday just before the race, so it was very fresh. The only thing I told myself was that seeing me race for him was absolutely everything, and he would definitely not want me to be destroyed before the race and do a bad race. The only thing he would want me to do would be win the race for him, so I was very happy to have honored him this way. Number 5. The number 16 was not his first choice. When Leclerc first joined Formula One, he wanted his race number to be 7. Unfortunately, Kimi Räikkönen had already taken the number. The number 10 was his second choice, but Toro Rosso driver Pierre Gasly had already taken it. Leclerc chose the number 16 as his third pick. He explained his reasoning as follows. The sum of the digits for 16, 1, and 6 equals 7. Even after Räikkönen's retirement, the Ferrari superstar chose to keep his number 16, possibly indicating that he found a new lucky number. Number 4. Ferrari took a risk with Leclerc. Ferrari has always done and will continue to do things a little differently than the other teams in the paddock. Teams and driver academies typically prefer to promote their drivers early in their careers. For example, see Max Verstappen and Sebastian Vettel. The Scuderia, on the other hand, usually prefers to hire experienced drivers with a proven track record of success. So the decision to replace 2007 world champion Kimi Räikkönen with Leclerc said a lot about both how good Leclerc was in his debut season with Sauber and how good Ferrari expected him to become. In fact, Ferrari signed Leclerc earlier in his career than any other driver since Gilles Villeneuve in 1977. The Canadian went on to carve himself a place as one of the great F1 legends in 4 short seasons before his death in a crash at the 1982 Belgian Grand Prix. While some may have been surprised by the quick promotion, former Renault F1 boss Flavio Briatore has chastised Ferrari for delaying the promotion until 2019. I believe if I was at Ferrari, I would have put Leclerc already 2 years earlier to replace Räikkönen, because, you know, with Räikkönen, you are going nowhere. You'll never win anything with him. You know, at the time, I would take the risk and put Leclerc in the car. Leclerc is a really, really strong guy. Number 3. He is the godson of Jules Bianchi. When Charles was 4 years old, he first stepped into a kart and was hooked by the thrill of speed after his first lesson with his godfather, French racing driver Jules Bianchi. Bianchi was Leclerc's elder brother's best friend, and the three used to spend most of their time together. This is where they all became close and formed a strong bond. Bianchi and Leclerc's fathers were also friends, and Leclerc previously stated about his friendship with Bianchi. I think it's clear to the eyes of everyone who knows this sport, Jules had an exceptional talent. It's also thanks to him that I'm here today. We grew up together. He was a few years older, my older brother's best friend. Our fathers were best friends too, so our families have always been close and still are. And yeah, I learned a lot from him, especially in my first years of karting. He had all the talent to have a great career in F1. As Leclerc rose through the ranks of the motorsport, Bianchi was involved in a fatal crash at the 2014 Japanese Grand Prix, spent 9 months in a coma, and died the following year. 2 years later, Leclerc's father died. two experiences that the F1 driver said made him stronger as a person and a driver. There have been moments that I wish never happened, but they have made me grow as a driver and helped me. The loss of my father and Jules. Two incredibly hard moments in my life made me stronger as a person and a driver. Mentally, I am stronger than I used to be. They definitely stay with you forever. Unfortunately, I lost my father quite early. It changes you. It changes you forever. Number 2. Grand Slam Achiever. Charles Leclerc came away from the 2022 Australian Grand Prix with an achievement only a select number of Formula 1 drivers have earned. He became the 26th F1 driver in history to complete a Grand Slam as he crossed the finish line to win at Albert Park. The Monegasque took pole position and led every lap of the race on his way to victory in the fastest lap, making him the first Ferrari driver to do so since Fernando Alonso in Singapore in 2010. However, Leclerc admits that receiving this honor means little to him. In the end, what matters is that I crossed the finish line first at the end. Then obviously, it's always nice, and it shows how good of a job we've done until now, especially this weekend with a statistic like this. But yeah, it doesn't matter to me that much. And number 1. His younger brother is a racer too. Arthur Leclerc, like Charles, is a member of Ferrari's Driver Academy and is entering his second Formula 3 season with the Prima team. This will be his third season with Prima, having raced in the Formula Regional European Championship with the Italian team in 2020. While Charles is eager to let his brother's abilities develop naturally, he has stated that there is plenty of mutual support between himself and Arthur, who has also offered occasional tips from the sidelines. He knows I'm there for any personal things he needs. When it comes to racing, I prefer to let him find his own way and to make progress on his own, which I think is very important in the sport. But sometimes, during a race weekend, when he's following my F1 race on TV, he spots things that maybe I've not noticed from inside the cockpit, and he lets me know to try to help me, which is always nice, so the support goes both ways. If the younger Leclerc makes it into F1 before Charles retires, it will be the first time in 15 years that two brothers have raced against each other at the highest level, 2006 being the last year that Michael and Ralf Schumacher shared the grid, as Michael left the sport at the end of that season. Given that Michael and Ralf both drove front-running machinery for different teams between 2001 and 2003, the brotherly Schumacher rivalry added to the intrigue of F1 at the time. It's a similar dynamic between the Leclerc brothers, with Charles explaining that he and Arthur have plenty of healthy competition. Our relationship is the normal kind of relationship that you find between brothers when there's not much age difference between them. We've always been competitive, especially when we were younger. When we were little, being 3 years younger than me, he always wanted to do the same things that I did. When I was 8 or 9, I was quite easy to beat him. As grown-ups, that 3-year age advantage has disappeared, so nowadays it's really hard to get the better of him, especially at tennis or paddle. That sense of competitiveness between us is still very keen. But despite his joy at his brother's success, Leclerc's protective instincts prevent him from fully embracing his pursuit of the sport. I'm 10 times more stressed whenever it's him racing compared to when I'm racing, because when I have the helmet on, I don't think about the danger of the sport. But whenever I see him from the outside, I start to think about all the bad scenarios that can happen. However, the foundation of their relationship lies off the track in the end. Whenever he needs help, he knows that I'm here for him, and he can call me anytime. But most of the time, we are just speaking about our lives, just like normal brothers will do. Well, that pretty much concludes our list. What do you think of Charles Leclerc as an F1 driver and personality? And do you believe he has what it takes to win this season? Leave your thoughts in the comments section down below.